Hello everyone, welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to be installing a Raceseng tow hook on the front of my MK7 Golf R. For this I'm going to be doing what they call a permanent install, so I'm actually going to drill out this cover here just to make it a more clean permanent install. This vehicle sees some track time, so I need a tow hook for that. Also carry canoes and kayaks and things on top, so it's kind of nice to have the tow hook in the front anyways. Plus I could just kind of like the look, so that's why I'm going to do a permanent install. Obviously you could just remove this cap and install this only when you need it. I'll eventually do one for the back as well, but as I said, for right now we're just doing the front. Since I'm doing basically a permanent install, you will need a few things. You will need a drill, some drill bits, some step bits are really helpful. You may need a Dremel as well. The method I'm going to use, it's really helpful to have some painter's tape. It's a really good idea to have some anti-seize or grease around and a pin. I do happen to have the Raceseng wrench that they do sell. It does make install a little bit easier, but if you don't have the wrench, a 20mm and a 25mm wrench or a 13/16 and a 1-inch wrench can also be used. The first step in the install is going to be to remove the factory tow hook cover. On the MK7 Golfs, you just got to push towards the outside and it'll pop out. In most cases you will have a retainer piece that clips in right here. You will have to kind of work that out. Unfortunately I've taken mine on and off so many times that mine broke off, so my plug just pulls out. Next we're going to take the tug shaft that's included with the kit, and you're going to thread this all the way in on the bumper. This is right hand thread. You don't even have to get it very tight. Hand tight's fine. We're just going to use this to mark location for where we're going to drill the cap. The next step, we're going to get ready to start marking where we need to actually drill the cap. So what we're going to do, we're going to take some painter's tape and we're going to place basically the four corners just touching the kind of tug bar here. You're going to do each side, top and bottom. And after I've done all four sides, I'm going to put one more piece on the top just to help hold the tape together as I kind of peel this up. It's also not a bad idea if you've got a Sharpie or a paint pen around, go ahead and kind of put a mark right where the tape touches. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and unthread this and pull it out of the way. And now I'm going to carefully peel the tape up and out of the way. And I'm going to reinstall the cap. And before I bring the tape back down, I'm just going to put one little piece of painter's tape on here, in part because I have the blue car. It'll just be easier for me to mark on something. If you had a white car or something like that, you could just use a paint pen on the car itself. So now I'm going to bring the painter's tape back down and carefully try and reapply it. And I can use my Sharpie here, and you can just draw across and connect your 2 points, and now you know where the center is on your cap. Now that I've marked where the center is, I'm going to take a center punch here and just quickly put a punch mark right in the cap where the center is. It'll just make it easier for me to find once I remove all the tape. So at this point you can remove all the tape, including the piece that's on the cover itself. You can see, you probably can't see, I do have a mark right here. This is in theory the center point of the tug shaft, so that's where we're going to start drilling out to clear the tug shaft. Now that I've got the cap marked, I've removed the tape just to get it out of the way. I am going to start with a very small drill bit. I'm going to put it right on the mark where I made with my center punch, and just go ahead and drill through. And after this, I'm going to start stepping up with larger and larger drill bits. I am going to go ahead and remove this from the car. That way I don't have to worry about hitting anything behind it as I'm drilling. There really shouldn't be anything back there, but this way you can also kind of pay attention as you're drilling through the backside, just to kind of make sure that you're not hitting anything too important. So I'm going to go ahead and start stepping this up, and then we'll come back when I get close. Alright, and now I'm back. I have drilled this bore out to about 15/16 of an inch. That seems to have worked out well for me. I did kind of clean up and try and deburr this edge a little bit. It might be a good idea to leave some of the painter's tape on here just to kind of protect the factory paint on here. At this point, I'm going to go ahead, snap this back into place, and you can just double check. This does go in. I've got a pretty tight fit around it. Should help keep kind of salt and debris and stuff out of here. So I'm going to pull this out one more time, and we're going to go ahead and talk about assembling the actual tow hook onto the vehicle. So before final assembly here, I am going to apply some some anti-seize to the tug shaft. This is just a good idea, especially if you're in a corrosion-prone place. It'll just make it easier in case you ever do need to pull this out for some reason. Just a nice coating on the threads here. You could use grease, you can use pretty much anything that'll lubricate. As you do this, just be really careful not to get it on your paint as you kind of thread it in here. I do have the wrench. You are going to want to get this in good and tight. Watch your paint as you do this with their wrench or with whatever size wrench you are using. You don't want to catch your paint with the wrench. So once I get this tightened in, we'll come back and work on assembling the rest of it. Now we're ready to go ahead and get ready to install the tow hook. As I said, if you had a tow strap, this process would be the same, but as I said, with the hook here, I am going to put just a little bit of anti-seize on these threads as well before I put the jam nut on. Not a lot, just a slight coating on there just in case I ever want to take this apart again. So before installing the jam nut, there are two sides to the jam nut. Maybe hard to see in here. One side there's a shallow counterbore, so a shallow area where there aren't threads, but on the other side there's a deep area that doesn't have threads. That's counterbored out. That deep counterbore is intended to cover the hex on the tug shaft. So that's going to face out on either your tow strap or your tow hook. So I'm going to go ahead, thread this all the way on, and then I'm going to go ahead and thread it into the tug shaft. So the hook did not land where I would like it to land. I want this to tip kind of flat down. So now I'm actually going to back this out just a little bit to the point that it's the orientation I want. And I'm going to use my wrench, once again being very careful of my paint, to snug up on this nut. And at this point, this is in here pretty good. It's not going to go anywhere. In order to loosen this, you do need an 8mm Allen wrench. It is on this side. So just a little bit of actually it was just stuck. I actually didn't end up tightening or loosening that at all. But so now I've got that down, so now I don't have to worry about catching my leg on it as I walk in front of the vehicle very much, because this is nice and flush to the car. This should be I mean, this is rated for pulling the car, so this will make the track organizations happy. If I've got a boat on top, I can flip it up, tie a rope to it, and that becomes the bow line for the vehicle. And that's it for the install. This is very easy to do. You just need a drill and some step bits. As I said, about a 15/16 is what worked on mine. Be super careful when you're drilling that. I was holding it in my hand. I was going really slow. It is, after all, just plastic. You don't really have to bear into it. Said if you're not doing this as a permanent install, just remove that plastic cap. Install this the same way. You can use the nuts to orient everything, and you're good to go. Said I'll be taking this to the track, hauling boats, things like that. Plus, as I said, I do like the look. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, please like and subscribe, and we'll be back later with some track videos and some other installs.